That's nice. This is good.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of a week of powerful women as we go through this global shift. We're here today with the amazing Alexis Buck. Hi.
I
So glad to have you here with us, Alexis. Alexis came on the show a couple years ago, and so it's good to have you back
It's good to be back. I'm
and to
happy
be
to be here.
seen and to be seen this time.
Yes, my appearance is no longer a mystery.
Exactly. So I'm going to clue you guys in a little bit to who Alexis is in case you don't already follow her. And then I would love for her to tell you a little bit more about what she does in her own words. But Alexis is a very active social media blogger with a passion for the concept of electromagnetic fields, ascension, spirituality, and science. Her audience enjoys the personal posts, but also the curated video and written reports of the Schumann Resonance, solar, celestial, and earthly weather conditions using space weather data herself and audience participation. Alexis documents the changes happening on Earth into our collective consciousness. Awesome. I love it. Hey, we got some people in the chat room. Hey, Pat, how are you? Thank you for being here. This is awesome. If anyone else is watching so far, please stop in and say hello. We are on day 3 of a week of powerful women providing divine guidance as we go through this global shift. And so Alexis works really closely with the planetary energies and what's happening on the planet as a collective, through our collective consciousness. So, Alexis, thank you so much for being here today. I would love to hear you share a little bit more about what you do in your own words.
Sure, I'd love to. And yeah, thank you again for having me. I I wrote what you read, but I'm going to elaborate.
I
So
know.
thank you for reading that so eloquently. I appreciate that. That's very
Of
nice of you.
course.
And yes, I've made in a way ascension and like earth and space electromagnetic weather my business in a way because I did a psych degree and at no point in that degree did they ever talk about any environmental factor like the Schumann resonances or other electromagnetic fields that can alter and change our behavior and our
Mhm.
psychology. And I thought that was such a major slap in the face in a way because really it after, especially even now when I've done more research and my own study into it with my blog, it's astonishing to me how essential it is to know for a lot of people who have more sensitive nervous systems,
Mhm.
people who have more sensitive emotional, intuitive, psychic abilities and so on. Like the more sensitive the person is, the more they seem to be impacted by the changes in the Earth's ionosphere and from solar weather and from cosmic radiation and
Mhm.
planetary movements and stuff. And it's been so fascinating because I didn't have a background in these things. All I had was the ability to read data and then collect it from a population. Although I don't do like any professional graphing or charting. Well, I could, but it's not really my skill. It's more of a day-to-day thing. It's more of like a day-to-day group therapy in a way that we
Mhm.
do. And it's nice to see other accounts have taken on that same sort of idea. They've used the Schumann resonance charts and the solar charts to begin more of a, I would say, more of a divine feminine conversation about how it makes you feel, what your experiences were, what are your inferences, what are other things that you noticed in your day.
Mhm.
And most people seem to consistently have very similar symptoms or experiences per day per electromagnetic environment that we're in. So it's been a lot of fun, and I think it's helped a lot of people get off of the fear train of they don't know what's going on with their bodies. They're trying to medicate, they're trying to seek counseling and so on, but it's
Mhm.
it's crazy to me how helpful this information's been to so many people, which is why I keep going because um and now the Facebook page and everything is almost up to 10,000 people. It's crazy. Like it's become
Wow.
such an important topic for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
I feel very honored to be bringing that to public and helping other people do the same, and it's just been a good time.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, and it's such a good mix of science and consciousness. And I think that that's a really hot topic right now, because as we've been in a more scientific mindset as a collective, we're definitely moving towards the more spiritual and consciousness side as a people. And so this is a really nice blend or marrying of the two.
Hmm.
So that's really awesome. And how have you been holding up through all of this, through this lockdown that we're in, through this huge global shift that we're going through?
I'm actually surprised on how well I've done, which is good. And sometimes I have no idea why I'm so emotionally impacted by things, and
Hmm.
but now that it's publicly aware, like we know what's going on in a way. We know there's major global shifts going on with the power struggle of blah 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 all over the place. I've been knowing it's been going on. I've been following that narrative for quite some time,
Yeah.
but now that it's more of a public thing, it's the one thing that was really cool was when they actually were like, okay, we want people to stay at home. We want people to stay home. And it was way more like it popularized really fast. Everybody was
Hmm.
home.
Yeah.
And the next day when that really happened, there was a palpable difference in my body. It was like this underlying anxiety that I just had was totally diminished. Like, and it consisted, or sorry, persisted for like a long time, except for
Hmm.
maybe the past couple days. So when I've started feeling it rise again, this anxiety, but it's a different type.
Yeah.
If I it's hard to describe, but it's almost like I took a bunch of caffeine and I'm like buzzing and I feel like I need to do 100 things and I'm getting all these ideas on stuff I need to do, but I don't have the actual physical energy to do these things. So it's this like push pull that I'm feeling, but I don't know why. And so everyone staying at home was really good. It made me feel really good, made me feel better. And then now it seems like something is stirring right now. Something seemingly is coming back into the like anxiety. And I have checked with my like audience too and being like, are you guys feeling this? Like, what is this? And
Hmm.
I on the charts, there's really nothing to support it as much, but people are their own personal barometers are saying giving the same signal. So it's been fascinating, especially the last couple of days.
Yeah. Well, I think because you're such a sensitive being, and as an empath myself, and like also my husband who's like really sensitive, he was like, "Oh, now I can go out in the world because there's so
Yeah.
much less people on the road and in the stores." And you
Mm-hmm.
know, like he's so sensitive to everyone's energy, like it never felt safe because you're just bombarded, right? But now
Yeah.
it's like there's no one out. So it's kind of like safe and all the animals are coming out apparently.
Yes, the gentler creatures are going back
Yeah.
out into the world.
Yeah, they went on a bike ride yesterday and they saw two foxes like right
Oh,
next to the road,
that's so
which
cool.
is like a magical sighting because we know they're
Very.
here, but we don't see them very often, maybe once a year.
Yeah.
So so that was pretty cool.
And you
Um
got to see two, which is even better.
Two, yeah, which was incredible. Yeah, and so have you been noticing like any strange anomalies in the Schumann resonance since people have been sheltering in place? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is it better? Is it worse? Because I know there's like a lot of fear around the globe, and there's also a lot of sadness around the globe. But then we did that mass meditation on the 4th, and I reposted your report that day because there was that huge spike at
Yep.
2 a.m., which was also interesting because everyone was asleep, at least on this side of the globe.
Mm-hmm.
So I have another question about that. But yeah,
Okay.
what have you been seeing since for the past 30 days overall, I guess is the question
Well, I'm
since
glad
we've
you brought up the 4-4 meditation because a couple days before that, like as April began, we were starting to get more activity. Like if we're giving us a 30-day window, I would say that we were seeing some activity that was getting more intense in the beginning of the month.
Hmm.
And some mass meditations were happening. There was nothing going on the charts during those, really, like very little readings. And then we had the 4-4, and it was huge, right?
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, after most people were probably not meditating. So
Hmm.
it wasn't as much of like an instant back forth between us and the ionosphere and the planet, trying like creating so much like crazy powerful ionization of the plasma field like with our thoughts, but I believe that what we were doing was more of like jumping on a wave, like I had mentioned, that was planned because
Mm.
of the astrological movements of Jupiter and Pluto and
Hmm.
whatever else was going on, because I have a very high suspicion that there is a lot more knowledge about what energies are coming towards us, where they're coming from in space. Like it could be from a plasma cluster that our whole solar system's pushing through. There's a theory that that's currently happening. There's
Hmm.
theories that there's stars that are blowing up and sending us stuff, and it's a constant thing. In my opinion, it's constant chemistry and electro shifts that are happening in the
Hmm.
universe. So but over the quarantine in the last few days, it hasn't been too bad, except for one anomaly I've noticed that I haven't seen before, is the quality, which is a physics term for measuring basically the quality of of an electrical device in a way to keep itself at a certain frequency and try and keep the energy longer. So it's like making it more efficient.
Hmm.
And the quality of the frequencies between like at like 26 hertz for some reason. It's just going up and down like crazy. And it's been going consistently for like, I think since really the quarantine kind of began. And I don't understand what that means. It's almost like something is like pulsing the ionosphere over and over and over and over. And it's like up, down, like really good quality, really low quality, really good quality, really low quality of just that frequency. I know that's kind of random and maybe no one's really following this, but I've been watching these frequencies do this dance for a few years now. And I don't understand. I don't understand what's actually going on with that. But with the meditations, there was a big blast on 4-4, which was good. And then the last 4 days throughout the Easter weekend, we received blasts every night again. So in the
Oh,
Western
wow.
Hemisphere,
What time?
nighttime.
Like after
Um,
midnight?
exactly. It's like
Yeah.
11 midnight, 1 a.m. It kind of begins and then it kind of dissipates around 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning.
Hmm.
But it's not, top to bottom of the chart whiteouts like we like to see. It's usually just the frequencies like 0 to about like 12 hertz, which I mentioned is like delta theta, alpha waves, like more of the
Hmm.
slower moving waves. There's less brainwave activity going on, really. But if we get too much stimulation in those brainwaves, we can get anxiety and like ADHD symptoms, like we can't focus. And I feel like that's what I've been
Wow.
dealing with.
That's
But
interesting.
like, yeah. And again, it's mostly when we're sleeping. So that's when I ask people, well, how were your dreams? What was your dream
Hmm.
state like?
Yeah,
And
I had crazy dreams like 2 nights ago.
right, I've
Like,
been having them too.
yeah, like I've had nights where it's like total blackout. I remember nothing. I feel like I didn't even dream. And then I have, these nights where it's like lucid dreaming all night long. I'm
Yeah.
doing work. I'm doing this. I had a nightmare that I left my son in a parking lot, which was horrible.
Oh man, mom dreams.
Mom dream.
Those are rough. My mom had a
Yeah.
horrible dream the other day. She's like, I'm not even going to tell you. I was like, ooh, that's a rough mom dream. I'm sorry.
That's so funny. And then did you hear about like the Van Ellen belt? Like did some weird wobble recently? When was
I,
that? Wasn't
I,
that like just a couple days ago?
I'm not exactly sure if I'm like understanding if I knew it was the Van Allen belt, but maybe I was seeing it from a different source, but I did see that the magnetosphere was like totally blasted out of itself. Like it usually the
Yeah.
lines all tend to like draw behind the earth as it pulls through space, so the magnetic lines pull behind, but the
Yeah.
magnetic lines were all in front and all around, and the colors were unusual, and it was like, okay, what
Hmm.
our magnetosphere is just floating around like foamy. I don't know what's going on. So, and again, there was no real, I had no idea why. I couldn't find anything to really make me feel like I knew what was going on. I had no idea.
Okay. Yeah. What I read was that, usually it's like this, like if this is the earth, it's this
Yeah,
smooth,
that's a good
like
example.
thing around it, but it like did this wobble and it got all distorted. And I guess scientific evidence said that like it looked like we were being blasted from an outside source. So there were
Okay.
energies coming in like towards our globe, and then that's what created it. So all the discussion was around, well, what caused that? Where did it come from?
Yeah,
So
that's,
that was
I feel
really
like that's the
interesting.
logical next question. Like,
Right.
okay, well, what is it then? And it's like, oh, we don't know. We don't know what it is. It's like, somebody's got to know. Like,
Right.
come on,
Right.
everybody. And
Right.
I'm getting impatient. You can tell.
Yeah. Have you found any correlation with not coronavirus, what am I want to say? Chemtrails.
Get stuck in there.
I know. Chemtrails and spraying and the Schumann resonance, or any kind of measurements. Can you pick up anything like that?
Actually, I think chemtrailing and Schumann resonances have been less, I found less correlations between them, but I found really a much stronger connection between when the KP index, or the geomagnetic field, is getting disturbed a lot from solar radiation or cosmic radiation. And so it causes a condensing, almost a contracting of our magnetic field. And it seems like whenever this plasma or this like solar wind is coming towards Earth, it's like spray the skies or make sure that we're being blocked. And
Yeah.
I just watched this 2 hour long thing last night that I'm still processing, honestly, about this type of technology. And it was from this German gentleman, and he went off for like, again, like 2 hours talking about the types of technology and things that they have in the air. And sometimes it reacts, like you can see it by the sun because it reacts to the light, it reacts to the photons and all of this stuff. And
Wow. What's it called?
what was what called?
The thing you watched. Was it
Oh,
a YouTube video
it
or?
was. I can send it to you. Again, he's a German name, so it was a little harder for
Okay.
me to remember, but it was called black goo. I know at least that he was talking about black goo, which I was not that informed about. I know about it, and
Uh-huh.
he that was the title, but he really covered so many other things. Like he talked about particulate in the air, he talked about Morgellons,
Oh, wow.
he talked about mycelium like being used, and it's mycelium that isn't like natural, like it's not normal. It may be even an alien mycelium that's coming in and being used and like in our guts. Uh, and also how like the metals in the air, like how hard it is to actually figure out what they're spraying because of the way the chemistry works when it dissolves and so on, and
Oh,
how the heavy
wow.
metals are being inserted in between our DNA or in between our neurons as a replacement for copper, and it's making us more electromagnetically sensitive, which
Mm-hmm.
I thought was really cool, and I hadn't known about that yet. But I know a lot of people who struggle really much with when solar wind comes in and things get more electromagnetic and their
Yeah.
bodies just hurt. And it could be
Oh, wow.
because they have more of their
And
neurons
metals.
connected to like boron instead of copper. And I'm learning about gold and iodine and all these like elements and chemistries and things. And then it starts getting into like the quantum realm and like our light bodies. He even talked about how the scientific shifts of your light body can be done with RNA that's been programmed, and they can like turn off and program things. And I was like, I knew most of these things offhanded, and then to have it all together and just delivered all at once, it was a lot to handle. I was like heating up. My brain was hot. trying to
Wow.
understand and push it all together. And
Wow. Well, we'll have to put the link in the live chat. If someone wants to research the title of that, we can, or no, you can't put links in the live chat, right? But we'll put them in the comments later
in
because
YouTube,
that sounds like something we definitely want to look into.
I
Because
would.
so I have two comments. One is I was told that they were doing more chemtrail spraying at night while we're sleeping now
Oh, good.
because so many people are complaining and taking notice, and now and they've admitted it now that they are doing it, but now they're doing it at night, so we're not aware of it. And so that's why I was asking about the indexes or the reports, if you've noticed anything, because you did say that there were some weird spikes happening at night
Yes.
this week.
That's a good correlation. I think that makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense. They could put something in the air that could make the ionosphere more conductive or something, or disturb it
right.
in some way. They can do that with the satellites. They can do it with the arrays satellite or things on the ground like HARP and so on. But this
Mm-hmm.
guy in the documentary, he's like, there's so many agendas functioning at once with what they're doing with the spraying that it's almost like it's really hard to actually narrow down what's going on because it, you don't even I like it's like there's so many things going on all at once, and
Yeah,
I get that impression a lot of the time, and sometimes I'll see them and I'm like getting the message, no, this one's a good one, and I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Like I'll get
wow.
that and I'm like, okay, may I don't believe you, like this intuitive feeling I'm getting, and I'm just like, how is it good? Like I don't get it. But I think
Right,
it's a very complicated situation. And
right. Yeah, and also, like, did you notice that, like, COVID-19 is affecting people's lungs mostly, right? And if there's all this chemtrail spraying and it's full of metals and we're breathing it in, and all those metals are probably hitting the lungs first, after the nasal cavity in the throat, they go right into the lungs. And maybe that's where they're sitting until our body can detox them. But then you turn on 5G, which is a microwave technology, and people are getting blasted with that. That could be activating something in our bodies because the metals are reacting to the 5G microwave. So
yes.
that's an interesting, like, correlation too, I think. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it was
That's
brought
my own theory, by the
in,
way.
yeah. Well, that was brought up in that video I watched, and he's like,
Oh, it
the
was?
microwave is a
Wow.
publicly recognized weapon, basically, and microwave radiation. It's being used between the towers, like tons of towers you've seen since you were a kid. They've been up a while, and they're communicating and they're doing things and they're shooting vibrations all over the place, and it's actually such a like a kind of a messy place. What astonishes me really is how resilient we are. How resilient we are, that even when we've been maybe sprayed with heavy metals for years, somehow we're all still doing decently all right, like most people. And it's like, wow, we really are very powerful beings. And um,
Right.
there is obviously some type of benevolence here too, protecting us as well. And
Hmm.
there's like, it is a complicated situation, but it's good that we're being educated, especially now. Like the coronavirus has really brought and shone a spotlight on so many of these topics that I've been, hungry to know more about for quite some time. And now there's a huge, way bigger group of hungry people who want to know. And it's a very,
Yeah.
very powerful catalyst. And the 5G radiation and the metals that we're getting in our body, those things are not going to be happening. Like, I'm pretty sure that those timelines are just dying right before our eyes. And it's super great because it was a concern of mine as well. Like,
Yeah.
I was definitely detoxing heavy metals out of my body purposefully for the last few years because, most people were vaccinated as a child,
Hmm.
and that stuff just doesn't really go. It doesn't leave really your body.
Yeah,
So at
you have
least
to
I don't think it does.
intentionally, I think you have to intentionally detox it, right?
Yeah, like,
Especially mercury. Like, I had all mercury fillings until
oh
about
man.
20 years ago. I had them all replaced, but still,
Wow.
I had them for probably 20 or 30 years before I had them taken out.
And the teeth are like all connected into the meridian system, and your electrical chemical system of all your organs and stuff, like such a like
Mm-hmm.
dastardly thing to do to a person's body.
Well, ironically, I've heard that colloidal silver is a really good thing to take for detoxing metals out.
Very nice. I haven't
Yeah.
heard that one actually. I have some. So someone actually just delivered me some in a big jar of it that he's
Oh, wow.
made. So
Yeah, that's
maybe that's what
amazing.
I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, I
I've been
was
like, why
gifted
do
a
I take
bottle
this stuff?
too. You just take. Are you
Oh,
back?
I got you. Yep.
There you are. Okay. I was just saying, you just take a little tiny, like, shot of it, like 1 ounce, I think, under your tongue, and you let
Okay.
it sit for like 10 seconds and then swallow it.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it's great for your immune system too.
Yes, that's why the friend brought it over. And I was like, that is so nice. Like, people have been really sweet and kind to each other, I think, during these times. And that's been really beautiful to see. Like,
Yeah.
the shifts in people's behaviors and priorities.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say was going to be happening, when the Great Awakening was happening. Like, the demonic, parasitic systems were just going to start croaking, and we were going to be transitioning to a new way of commerce and communication between
Mm-hmm.
being more self-responsible. That was another thing he said. The thing I loved, it was just like people have been afraid of taking responsibility for themselves. They've been giving their power away to have someone else be responsible for them. And
Right.
that's that system and that behavior
Mm-hmm. It's
is
leaving.
it's leaving, and it's a disempowering weird contract thing that we've all been kind of indoctrinated into doing, like, since children, really. So we can't blame ourselves exactly, but we
Right.
can take responsibility back,
Right.
which is
Yeah,
good.
I've noticed that, like, people are kinder at the grocery store or waiting in line just to get in the grocery store because everybody's being sensitive to the fact that we're all in this together and everyone's stressed out or everyone's full of anxiety. There are people with severe fear that they're going to go to the store and catch this thing. So
Yes.
everyone seems to be, like, kinder to each other. And I hope that continues, because if everyone was in a heart space on the planet, like, things could shift overnight. So thank you for mentioning that point, because I think it's really beautiful. And so let's talk about timelines, because that's something I love talking about, and you brought it up, so that was a good
I
good
did.
segue. So tell me more about your thoughts on shifting these timelines, because I've been intuitively feeling like we're at a time of a big split, right? Like, all these timelines are splitting off, and we're being called to make a choice, like, which timeline do you want to go on? And what are your thoughts on that, and what kinds of things do you do to manifest the timelines that you want to live in and co-create?
Okay. Well, I would say I thought, like you said, I totally agree about the timeline shift that's happening right now. And I think
Hmm.
it's incredible on like a sociological level, like a collective level. There is a common catalyst that's happening that, on an everyday life back in 2019, for example, there wasn't a one thing that everybody was basically aware of that allowed them to make a decision at the same time. Like, this is a
Right.
global decision making thing that's happening, and it's so
Right.
crazy to think about. Like, I did feel like this was going to happen, but how it's showing up is so interesting
Bizarre. Yeah.
and exciting.
Same.
And there is this common enemy and this common threat, excuse me. But
Mhm.
a lot of people were speculating that that might be like people faking an alien invasion or something, and then Earth would come together and fight this thing. But no, it's like this virus, and it is an alien in a way, but it's a different kind. And how people are choosing to respond to the information about this is their timeline potential, really. So if you want to continue welcoming in fear and worry and um, anxiety, you're going to continually choose the timeline where you wake up and you turn on the news and you watch the news that's pumping you full of fear and potentials that are timelines that are not your best interests usually, or well, we're gonna have to be in quarantine until 2021, or we're all gonna die. Like, I don't know, like these things have been so liberally like just spewed out more than I've ever seen, all of these fears and potentials and potential timelines, and you get to pick which one you want to continue watching and which one you want to continue doing by the things you say, by the actions you take. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like if you're making a fear-based reaction or fear-based choice from this information, then you're going to continue welcoming fear and more fear-based choices, and you're going to contract and contract and contract and separate yourself from, literally isolate yourself from society. And it's such a like a polarizing event. But then you have that possibility, like what I've been doing is I feel like I've been preparing for this for a couple years personally, and now that I'm seeing it and it's showing all the signs of what I've been picking up would be the markers of this shift, I'm like, wow, I'm actually having a great time. I'm feeling very optimistic because it
Mm-hmm.
is, we all have the potential to jump to another place. And I'm seeing the potential we're jumping to a world where more people are going to be sovereign in creating some sort
Mm-hmm.
of service for humanity and sharing their abilities and their wealth and knowledge with each other. And um, it's this leisure time that a lot of people are getting right now that they wouldn't have been getting is also a huge catalyst for to
Right.
allow people time to think about what they want. Oh my gosh, there's a hummingbird like right outside the window just looking at me.
Aw, that's so cute. I get them outside my window too because I have a garden right there full of flowers and
That's so awesome. They're the
uh,
best.
they're my spirit animal. I love them. That was so cool. You had one in your house the other day.
I did.
And I
Yeah.
wanted to comment because I've had one in my house too.
Oh
It was
wow.
yeah, it's really fascinating. Did he fly out on his own?
Yes, thankfully. And then he
Oh,
came
that's
back
good.
the next day and then had much more of a struggle. And we were like, please just stop trying to fly into the window. We're trying
Yeah.
to get you outside. But it was good. We're trying to keep them in their area and not put them in any danger. But then they just come and stare at us through the window when the feeder's empty. And they're like, hey, give me some more sugar water. But yeah.
Yeah, the one that came in one second. I'm just taking a note because I want to go back to what you were saying.
Yeah, I know we
But
got distracted. I'm
the
sorry.
one it's okay. It's a blessing. The one that came in my house, this was many years ago, he couldn't get out. I had 14 windows. It was like a corner upstairs unit and I had 14 windows that wrapped around and
Wow.
he couldn't get out. So eventually we had to like throw a towel over him and catch him. And by then he was so exhausted. He was like playing dead in my hand. I actually held a hummingbird in my hand. It was
Wow.
so magical. I was like, nobody ever gets to hold a hummingbird in their hand. So I took him up on the roof and I like was praying over him and I was just like, please don't die, please don't die. Because at the same time, one of my best friends was in the hospital and she
Oh,
was she was in a coma. And to me, she lived on Hummingbird Lane and it represented like
so it had more
her
meaning.
yeah, it had more meaning. And I was like, if you die, that's like a sign that she's gonna die, or something. So I was like, please don't die, please don't die. And then
Emotional.
the sun like was hitting his body, and I put him down on the roof, and he just like came to life, and he flew away. And I was like, oh, thank God. So then I was like, I wonder if he was playing dead or if hummingbirds like because their little hearts beat so fast. Like
Hmm.
it was almost like he had to catch up his energy so he could fly again. So it was really quite an experience. So when you had that happen the other day, I had all these questions for you. Like, did it make it out? Did you get to hold it?
Oh man. Yes, thankfully it was safe and sound, happy and healthy, and I think came back the next day and did the same thing. So
Yeah.
I came
Aw.
back for more.
But he got out okay.
Yeah, thankfully both times, but I did
That's good.
watch it fly into a window and I was like, no,
Oh, that's hard.
this isn't as magical.
So what I wanted to comment on when you were speaking, what I love about this, like everyone being shelter in place, is like it puts us all in this state of humility because we're all going through the same thing. And I think
Yes.
it really reminds everybody that we're all the same and we're all one. You know, because you see like famous musicians putting out these songs on YouTube just for the heck of it, just to like lift up humanity's spirit a little bit, just to like be of service and give a gift of music.
Right
And
on.
yeah, and I think that like it's going to really like make people like check in with themselves and have that realization of like we're all one, we're all connected, you know, and we're all going through this together. And also like this COVID-19, obviously, you know, it's not choosy about who it's going to affect and infect. You know, you could be black, white, Chinese, rich, poor, skinny, fat, it doesn't matter. Like it's coming for all different types of people. So again, that's another message that kind of reiterates like we're all in this together. So I hope that, as you know, negative as this experience is, there's a lot of positive coming out of it as well.
I think so too. I like that. I like that concept and then evening kind of evening the playing field a little bit. Like it is a very humbling experience for some people
Yeah.
who were really cranking it in the matrix and who are now being forced to sit down and take a break, especially the celebrities and so on. And
Right.
you know, some celebrities have motivations to choose or try and choose a timeline for themselves and their audiences too. And people get to choose, you know, you get to choose what you take in and what you embody and what you do with your energy. But
Mm-hmm.
it's been funny to see how they're all approaching it. But yes, very humbling. And my family has been enjoying each other's company even more. And we're all around the world right now, but we all are at home. So we're all able to at least group text each other. And
Mm-hmm.
usually we're so busy and doing stuff that we don't even really get to do that. So that's been really fun. And I think that's
Yeah,
happening to, I mean, a lot more families are getting more intimate time than they were anticipating at all. But
for
great
sure.
great catalyst too if you have an unhealthy relationship with people you're living with, or you know you were just getting by with
Mm-hmm.
things. These things are going to be removed probably, or at least you know you're going to get a really good look at your life and your environment that you're
Right.
sleeping in. So
Right.
it's healthy, it's healthy, it's a good review period, a good hermit period. It's essential for the spiritual growth of somebody.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you know, families are being forced to spend so much time together. If there were any rifts or things that were kind of swept under the rug, they're all going to be brought to the surface to be healed and cleared,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and hopefully they can make it through this time together and heal it. Um, but yeah, it's a beautiful time to heal our wounds and to go inside and like look at what's really important.
And I kind of like how long it's taking. Like I sometimes you're like people can cope with their unhealthy coping mechanisms for so long, but then you get bored of them and then you were like, where what else do I do? Like I've eaten so much food for 3 weeks and now like I don't want to eat anymore, and I've watched every movie or TV show that I've saved and wanted to watch. Now what do I do? And it's like I'm liking how long this is taking because it's actually pushed people past that like you
Mm-hmm.
know, 2 week like
Mm-hmm.
survival comfort zone, like just get through it mentality almost. It's like, no, this is gonna be a little bit more of a long haul. And you're now starting to really see yourself and see
Yeah.
your life. And it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
I know I've been working this whole time since shelter in place. So it's been, I guess, 30 days now. And I decided that next week I'm going to do a digital detox, take the week off, no screens, no social media, and just like do more meditation, more gardening, more walks with my kids, walks with the dog, be in nature, you know, just more cooking or baking or whatever, anything that's not on a screen. So
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to it because, you know, I all of my work is on a computer. And as much as I enjoy it, it'll be good to get off for a while. So it'll be
Feel you.
interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens and if I survive. No, I'm kidding. I'm
you're
actually
gonna
looking forward to it.
you're gonna look at your computer after the week and just be like, no.
You stay over there.
I'm just gonna start selling zucchinis and that'll be my new thing.
I'll be making more oils and bracelets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I also wanted to ask you about, going back to the 4-4 day meditation when we did that global meditation. Um, we noticed that there was a lot of like galactic help or angelic help like after 2 a.m. So I wonder what time it was like in Japan or whatever. But
Right.
do you have a sense, an intuitive sense, or have you read anywhere like who's helping us? Like, do you think we were getting a lot of help that particular day because of the planetary alignment? Like, do you think it was a different species from another planetary system, or do you think it was more just cosmic energies, if you will?
Well, I was definitely trying to tune in with that because it was astonishing how many people were wanting to participate in this. And there's plenty of other portals, and I've seen many other mass meditations go on like dates like 444 or 1111 or so on.
Mm-hmm.
And what was weird though was the vibe I was getting about this particular day and this particular gathering wasn't as much of a galactic vibe. Like I honestly tend to feel, and I was getting more of the willies, like I was like almost feeling uncomfortable and a little bit unsure and a little bit standoffish from the meditation. And I can't tell you, I don't understand why I was feeling that way. It may have been, some other groups were willing to participate in a nasty intention or something. There might have been some weird stuff going on at the same time, trying to
Mm,
utilize the astrological movements, because I know that's a major part of the occult, is doing things on certain days because of the planetary and the celestial movements. It's like religions and
mm-hmm.
cultures, that's like one of the major things they track the skies. And so personally, I didn't get as many galactic influences. But before that, the day before, I guess that's a lie, because the day before, Venus and the Pleiades were they were overlapping. Venus was going right over the Pleiades in the sky
Okay.
the day before 4 on 3-4. And I witnessed it with my own eyes, and it was really awesome. And I was getting a lot of really strong Pleiadian and Venetian synchronicities.
Mm-hmm.
So very much so that those two, in my reality at least, were showing up the day before the meditation. So I'm glad you brought that up. And both of them I've gotten really good feedback from the planet Venus and from the Pleiades, and who and what's going on there so far. It's been so good. So
Mm-hmm.
the blast though, like where it really came from, what would have produced something like that? I've asked myself that so many times with so many blasts. Like, how is this coming in? What is really able to charge this much? Like, I can assume the sun can, but the potentials are probably beyond what I'm more comfortable admitting, because I have to just kind of trust it or continue hoping that that's the direction things are going. Like, I haven't walked up to a Pleiadian and been like, was that you? And then they'll be like, yeah, it was us. And I'm like, okay, can you tell me
By the way,
why?
it's 4:44 right now. Oh, it just shifted.
There you go. So the
Oh my
Pleiadians.
gosh. Yes. Yeah, there was something I think okay, so I did a meditation on the supermoon with my friend Vivian Chauvet, and it was the full moon, supermoon, and I think she reported afterward that there was a lot of Venusian energy in the cosmos that night. So yeah,
That
I
makes a
feel
lot of sense.
oh, did you see that? A
I
little
I
sprite
did.
just flew by the camera.
Was that on my side?
Yeah, that was
I
on
think
your
I
side.
physically saw it too, like
Yeah.
actually was just right there. I was
Yeah,
seeing another
so
one over there earlier, but okay.
okay, so what's really fascinating about that is I interviewed Geraldine on Monday night, and she had a feather manifest and drop down right in front of the camera like this, and everybody saw it, and it just like appeared out of thin air because there was,
What?
yeah, she said there were no windows open, there was no feather up there, it just like manifested. And then like two other times in the video, people saw, and I saw it too, things like that, what just happened to you, like white things zooming by the camera.
Yeah.
And, you know,
And
I
it's
didn't,
gone. Like I
and I
didn't
didn't
see.
interrupt her like on the other two times, but we noticed it and people mentioned it in the chat room. So it was kind of funny. And then last night I interviewed Holly, and it happened with her interview. So like everyone I interview, they get these like sprites just zooming by the camera. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, that was pretty good, but an actual feather like Geraldine, she took it to the other level.
To the
I
next
mean, she
level.
always does, but like
Right.
I'm impressed.
Hmm. It was awesome. Did she see it? Yeah, she saw it because I called it out. I was like, "Wait, that's a feather," you know. It was crazy.
Was she able to like pick up and see the feather on like the thing, or did everyone just see one and then it was not
I,
physically there?
I can't remember. I
Okay.
can't remember if like she didn't pick it up. So I can't remember if she like saw it and then it disappeared or what happened. But I'll
I
have to
gotta
go.
watch that.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and watch it and see.
Heck yeah.
It's in the first half for sure. Awesome.
It's funny too, actually. Before I did this interview, I asked if anybody wanted to be a part of it or wanted to be brought up, like out of my deck of cards that has Lady Venus in there. And Lady Venus did come out, and she was what was coming out when I was checking the stars and the
Oh
when
wow.
Venus was transiting. And I was like, okay, Venus is very, very powerful right now. And so I learned about Lady Venus, and she exists in the astral plane of Venus, and her partner has come to Earth in a way to also assist in the astral plane and the logos of our planet. And there's this like deep spiritual connection between protecting our planet. And
Mm-hmm.
it's I've had dreams actually a couple times where I've had people be like, "Yeah, you're from Venus." And I'm like, "Oh."
Wow.
But it doesn't happen with all the other places, but I don't know. I've interacted with so many different types now. It seems like it can be from anywhere really, but
Right. Or if
yeah,
have had, you know, multiple lives on multiple planets.
it seems to be the case. I mean, if we're all one, I'm everybody already. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I am Venus. I'm the people on Venus. I'm
Pleiadian.
I'm in the Pleiades. I'm that really evil guy over there, unfortunately, but it's true.
What do you know about the Venusian energy? Like what kind of, I've heard that they're already ascended past the fifth dimension, but like what kind of energies do you detect from them as a people, as a
I've heard
collective?
this too. And again, in our astrology here, the type of energy that is associated with Venus is more of the like love, is more leisure and spiritual uh, comfort in a way, it seems like. And I know there's a few, honestly, I know that there's a lot of the like, maybe occult, but like the spiritual and occult and um, information in those kind of realms that
Mm-hmm.
is involved with Venus and on the good and the bad. Like I read something that Lucifer was potentially also a depiction of Venus because Venus is the morning star. And so I learned about that. I did some research just a few days ago because I was like, why is Venus so much? Like, I need to know more. And so it seems like that's also a potential
Mm.
energetically with Venus is this sort of the Lucifer story and how that's been twisted. Venus itself could have, that energy has been maybe twisted to become like some type of worship thing
Mm-hmm.
and some, naughty
Well,
things.
that might explain why you were feeling kind of, you know, yucky energy on the global meditation, because maybe that was a big day for that side
That's a good point.
to connect with Venus, you know. But
And
yeah.
it's very possible. And these groups are so old, and the things that they do has been happening for a long time, like past the Egyptian priesthood and past, like it could have even been another species that landed on Earth and is trying to take over and so on, like from way back. And it's just the drama just never seems to kind of like end, but it's really all surfacing right now, in my opinion, which is
Yeah.
great. The
Yes.
transparency is heightening super fast and everything is really starting to expose itself.
I
And
know. I was so surprised at how quickly social media like called out Bill Gates. Like it went from
oh
like
yeah.
a few people calling it out to like it seemed like everyone was talking about it, and there were just like memes and memes and memes coming out about him and how we don't want him as our like, you know, he doesn't have the say on what we do with our bodies for sure.
Agreed. Like, what is
So
a software engineer doing giving medical advice? And
right.
the meme war is a whole other thing. Like, that's a whole other group. I know that there's like military meme people. Like, it's a
Hmm.
real deal. It's such an excellent way to like form public opinion. It's been such a
Yeah.
fascinating thing. And it's so fun. Like, it's art as well. And you're collecting art, historical artwork of what's
Hmm.
going on in our ascension. And it's a meme about
Right.
Bill Gates, and that's what's happening today. And today, what's happening today? Oh, Cardi B and Bernie Sanders are talking about Joe Biden, is what I saw on my phone. And I was like, that's a meme. Like, what the heck is going on? So,
Who? Joe Biden and who?
oh, I saw that, that Cardi B, this rapper,
Okay.
and Bernie Sanders, two characters I would never put in a room together, are talking about endorsing Joe Biden or something like that. And I saw that when I woke up today and I was like, I gotta put my phone down. Like,
And Lady Gaga just endorsed him.
yes,
I'm
that
like, what's going on?
I
Like,
and it was sweet. I
no,
just
it's
recorded a
crazy.
podcast. What she said was actually pretty sweet. And but I just couldn't handle it either. I was like, this is too weird. Like I can't. And my skin is crawling. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've seen so many not great photos and videos of what these people have been doing. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. It's all coming out.
Yeah. Supposedly she had a resurrection. But
Oh
I don't know.
no.
I don't know if you can ever really get away from that world, you know?
It's it's definitely something we need to look into because we want to save as many people as we can too. Like be like, it's okay, Eventually you're gonna have to switch side. It might as well be now, We'll just deal with the repercussions as they
Yeah,
come.
exactly.
But
So, do you think the sun has healing abilities?
yes,
Yes.
100%.
Do you want to talk
It's
about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
I mean, to disinfect things, they used to put things out in the UV radiation of the sun,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be it, And they'll have the sun creates chemicals and minerals and stuff in our own bodies when we expose our skin to them, and as well as the plants. Like we all have our own
Mm-hmm.
synthesis that happens when we are exposed to the photons of the sun. Like very important part of our health. And I think that that particular relationship has been constantly under attack. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
very rare. It has been very rare, at least in my lifetime, to actually look up at the sky and not see a bunch of trails and not, or it's
Yeah.
completely overcast. And then any sunny day you get, you're not seeing a blue sky. You're still seeing interference, and then you're inside all day at school and you're inside all day at work and you're inside all day at social distancing because you're watching the TV and you're not
Yeah.
outside, and you don't want to go in your yard because you're still like there's this fear that if like there's something scary outside. Why are they telling us to stay inside? Like stay inside has been the words. And it's like, no, you can stay home, but go out in your yard, like go
Yeah.
outside and get the nutrients you need from the sun. It's springtime too. Like in
Right.
the northern hemisphere, this is the best sun. This is the
Yes.
best stuff. Like it's so good that leaves
Mm-hmm.
are sprouting out of trees that had nothing on them. And that's powerful.
Yes, I've noticed like the quality of the light here looks incredible. Like when I wake up in the morning and I look outside on our hill, like the light just looks so
Yes.
brilliant, like diamond white light. And thank God we have been getting like really blue skies for the past 3 days.
Yes.
It's been beautiful. And now this week we finally are having weather in the 80s. So like I just want to be outside all the time. Because I come from warm weather place. So I'm loving this weather, and I'm so grateful that we can go outside. Because I guess I'm hearing like uh firsthand accounts of people who live in Australia who can't even go outside, which is crazy to me. They can't even go outside and touch the earth.
Yeah. That's oppression.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you're
So,
like, okay, why? Like, what is it? Is there actually a danger or what's going on? And in my
mhm.
opinion, it's for me, I feel kind of undecided, but I'm just doing it because I have faith in a way that I'm going to be all right and I
Yeah.
can recover from whatever it is because I have so far.
Hmm.
And I've lived through a couple pandemics now and I'm feeling pretty confident about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you like how do you stay positive through this, and what do you think people can do to stay positive through this pandemic?
Just taking advantage of the situation in the best way that you can for your improving your own health, I think is what I've been doing. And I've been personally, I lived in a van for like a year previous to January. So I was ejected very, intensely from the matrix, from having a normal job, from paying bills, from all these things.
Hmm.
It was partially by choice and then partially not by choice. So I also had that emotional attachment, like I didn't fully decide to do this. And so I've felt this way before, but some people are feeling what I felt then now, that they've been ejected out of their life and they're now having to find new cycles and new rhythms and new patterns. But I've been getting this practice for almost a year and a half now. So I've personally been way less affected. All my business and everything is online. Like you said, I was looking forward to a media blackout and everything turning off so I could finally just take a break and as well,
Right.
because my job as well as yours has not stopped. I'm constantly being there and holding space and helping the community that I've built because I've made myself that person. I've committed to that. I've made myself available. That's what I wanted to do. And
Yeah.
so I've just been working on making my routine even more and more grounded and more self loving and giving myself the time that I need to do these things and have time by myself. Especially one thing about the social distancing I do like is that literally isolating yourself from other people is really important for your own growth. And living in a van with a partner and a puppy, I did not get any of that for like a year. And it was so weird and very disturbing for me. And I
Wow.
would go on walks sometimes, but even I was still in a place of disharmony that I almost didn't even want to leave. It was like an attachment we had to each other too. So we now live in a place that's not a van and there is rooms with doors, and I've just had a whole other experience of my life where I can be alone again, and I really hope other people are getting that luxury as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, that's what's been making me happy. And also a bath. I have a shower now and a bath. Like I didn't have that for a long time, and it was really weird. And people definitely should take advantage of dousing themselves in water and salt water and doing Epsom salt baths to like also help purge all of the anxiety and all of the stuff off of your body that
Hmm.
you know you may not know it's there, but it's there. And you'll do the bath and you do the shower, and you're like, wow, I really needed that. And I needed that
Yeah.
break and time alone too. So that's how I've been keeping my hopes up. I've been hydrating, exercising more, doing videos, being creative. We got a cat recently, so now I'm also working with a cat being and what she needs to do with her life, and that's been fun. And we're
Oh,
just
beautiful.
trying to keep a happy, healthy household,
Hmm.
keeping the peace, and also creating content to help bring balance and another perspective to the fear mongering and stuff that has been going on. Like,
Yeah.
that's been really fun. And my partner Jason and I, we've been doing that consistently on our channel separately, and as together on our own podcast that we were making, and it's been
Mm-hmm.
really good. It's been keeping my spirits.
What's his channel? Because I've been meaning to subscribe to it, and I don't see it come through my filters. So what is his channel? I'd love to put it in the chat room.
He's called his channel Cosmic Origins.
Oh, cool. Cosmic Origins.
Yeah, on YouTube.
So,
And
guys, if you are interested, go check out Jace's channel, Cosmic Origins, on YouTube.
agreed.
Yeah.
He's been doing a great job. He's been doing mixes as well. He's been DJing for people, live streams of mixes and DJing just to like get
Oh,
people
cool.
dancing and moving, because that's another thing that's really helpful at these times is to get your
Right.
blood moving through your body, like super important. But
Is he
also
doing
he's
like ecstatic dance kind of
it's
music or?
he's more of a tribal guy. Like he
Okay.
likes more of a slower, more rhythmic, like slower BPM, beats per minute thing. And I'm more of like, yeah, like you can ecstatic dance to those things, no problem. That's what tribes have been doing a long time. But I've always been more of a higher paced dancer and mover. But so I've had to learn his style. But it's a much easier pace to keep if you want to dance for a few hours. That's for sure.
Oh, wow.
And then he does political, like socio-political um videos as well. He does an excellent job reporting on a lot of stuff, and but it does take a lot out of him, and he's a sensitive guy like your husband. And
Hmm.
um he's been needing to take more and more breaks during this quarantine than he was expecting. At the beginning, he really surged with the content when the panic was really fresh. And
Yeah.
then now everyone's kind of calming down. And I'm noticing with him, like he's sleeping a lot and he's been fasting as well. Like he's been giving his body a really good break from
Hmm.
stimulation. So, and doing things that keep your inner child happy and so on. Like he's playing video games now. He hadn't done that for years, and his dad and him are playing video games together and they're giggling at 3 in the morning. And I'm like, what kind of world is this? This is so funny. Like it's
That's
sweet,
funny.
but going from a van to like playing video games at 3 in the morning over the internet just in a few months is just such a it's kind of jarring, but it's like it's such a beautiful thing too. And I'm grateful for what we've been given to live in and be safe in during this time, because I'd be doing it in a mobile situation. I feel like
Yeah.
that would have been way more intense.
Yeah.
And I really feel for the people because I know a few who are still living that way, but
Yeah.
they love it. I loved it
Yeah.
too. They feel free, and no one can tell them what to do really. They just go to free land and park themselves and
Yeah.
get their food when they need it, and they're fine. They're getting their vitamin D, they're getting their sunshine no matter what. So they're not
Right.
as hooked into the internet either. Most of them don't even have a signal. So they're just living a whole other timeline where they're just still doing their
Right.
thing. So I've seen the spectrum in a way.
Hmm. Would you do it again?
I
Yeah.
would like to do it in a bigger I think
Like an
vehicle next
RV?
time, because it's like a van, but it's a compact RV. Like it had everything an RV has, but it's van size, so it's very small.
Right.
And I would do it again, and I look forward to continuing traveling around and meeting more people and connecting the community and doing more events. And
Hmm.
yeah, I want to celebrate life more with people, and instead of constantly doom and glooming ourselves like, oh, what's happening next, oh, our plans are canceled. It's like, no, I really wanted this to be a celebration. And I think hopefully it will evolve. We're going to be celebrating more and more. But it's hard to celebrate when you're like thinking the world is dying of a disease. But it's a very bizarre, conflicting feeling I have.
Right, right. I know it's a really bittersweet time because there's like so much death and sadness, but there's also a lot of rebirth happening at the same time because people are rediscovering their soul paths, people are being activated and awakening, and like they're having this time to like stop and breathe and really figure out what's important to them and what like who they are. Like how many people do you know that completely identify with their career? Like that
Mm-hmm.
is them. They are it. I'm an accountant or I'm a teacher or whatever that label is. And right now, if they're out of work, they're not that thing. So hopefully they're taking this time to really go inside and connect to their true soul essence, you know?
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
It's
we were ta-
essential.
it's essential. Like we were talking about labels yesterday because
Yes,
um
labels.
labels really put you in a box, they limit you, they create limiting beliefs, and we're just so much more than that. We're so much more than our names, our labels, our, gender, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
Of course.
yeah, so that's kind of like the rebirth side of the death that's happening in the way I see it. I mean, there's a lot of things being rebirthed, but that's
Yeah, a
really
lot of
cool.
things that people use for their identity are not available to them anymore to draw on as a resource. Like I keep seeing
Yeah.
funny videos where women are like, I can't get my nails done and I'm losing my mind. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's such a part of their identity to spend 60,
Right.
$70 on their nails every month. But
Or
it's like,
lashes or
or
hair or
exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
And then men, they have their own thing. Like I have a friend who has been working as an exotic dancer, and that whole thing is totally, that's over. Those men are not going to that place and spending that money there anymore. That economy is changing. And so I know that's an extreme example, but not all men are going to exotic dancers. I'm not
Right.
trying to make anyone like upset or anything, but it's what came to mind and as
Yeah.
an example. And a
Well,
lot of
it's an
people are having to
industry.
innovate.
Yeah. It's an industry that is not always spoken about. So it's kind of interesting to shed
I
light on
know.
that. Yeah.
And she's a good friend of mine, and it's been fascinating to watch her be so spiritually awake, but also going into this industry. And she's taught me a lot about it. And um, I think she's also learning a lot about it too. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
been a huge learning process, and I've seen a lot of other women in the same position, and it's just um, it's been very enlightening, and I'm glad almost that those women are now not participating in that particular practice. And
Mm-hmm.
that's my opinion. I feel like it's an extreme length to go to, and almost as a I don't think people would be doing these things, not a lot of them, if they weren't making any money doing it. Like I know a lot of
Right.
people love to dance. Dancing, there's nothing wrong with dancing, and there's nothing wrong with people admiring your dancing, but to have it also in this weird way that it costs money to watch somebody dance, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
things are getting a little weird in my opinion. But that's so many industries really. Like if money wasn't
Mm-hmm.
involved, most industries, like we're seeing, most of non-essential industries are just not open. And it's like,
Right.
well, we didn't actually need this candle store, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, Places I hadn't been able to buy anything from for the last little while because I have been personally investing every penny into my own business and my own service to humanity. So it's like for me, I'm like, well, whatever. Like, doesn't affect me much at all.
Yeah.
I haven't
That's
been able
great.
to do those things in a while, but it doesn't bother me because I'm feeling a
Mm-hmm.
fulfillment of service and creativity, and I don't need to identify with those things anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
that's been a huge learning process.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, it's lucky that did the van life thing because you're kind of like one step ahead or like kind of prepared for this new life, this new way of living. I feel that too because we started homeschooling our son like a year and a half before this happened. So
Nice.
when everyone was like freaking out because all of a sudden they were homeschooling three kids or two kids or what or one,
Or
like
11.
or 11 in Utah. No, just kidding. um,
Exactly. Shout out to those families too. We feel
right.
you. Good job doing the good work.
I felt so grateful because, you know,
Yeah.
I was already doing that. We're already at home with our family, so we're already kind of like here all day long for each other, helping the kids. I mean, our daughter was going to preschool like four, 4 or 5 days, yeah, 4 days a week. So that was a little bit of an adjustment because now she was here also, and her needs are really different. And,
Hmm.
so I have to try to like give her schoolwork, which is usually like a craft or, something fun while we're with our son. So, but overall, like the adjustment's been easy. I feel sorry for her though, because how do you explain to a 4-year old what's happening? You know,
Yes.
she just knows like everybody's sick, so we can't go anywhere. And I'm like, I hope she doesn't have PTSD from this experience, because I know she misses her friends and she misses school, and it's just so hard, like
She's
trying to.
just a social butterfly, and
She
she just
is. Yeah, she really is.
that's
Yeah.
sweet. I want to meet her. I want
Yeah.
to meet your kids. I'm sure that they're the sweetest things.
They are fun. They are fun. Very unique people.
Good. I mean, you are their mom, so it's
Yeah.
bound to happen.
And Mark's their dad.
I say the same to my mom. I'm like, well, what were you expecting? I mean,
Exactly.
I love my mom. Shout out to her. She's great.
Oh, hi, Mom. In case you're watching.
My parents are awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm
And
sure
yes,
they
I'm
are.
glad that you've gotten that opportunity to already prepare to deal with the homeschooling. And I'm excited because I wanted to get into education because I was waking up after my psych degree and I was like, well, I can't get a job with just a psych degree. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I was like, I need to be there for the children. That's the one thing that I was like, children are the priority and I want to be able to
Hmm.
be there for them. And if it's just 30 kids a year, that's a huge impact still. And so I was like, might as well go into education. And that all fell apart. And I was
Mm,
pretty upset. I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to help? But now it's fantastic because the responsibility again for educating the children is now coming back onto the families and the community in a different way and a more personal way. And
hmm.
it's so good for the kids too because it's an unhealthy environment. A lot of the schools, it's unhealthy to be under those lights all day. It's
Yeah.
unhealthy to be sitting that long. It's
Yeah.
unhealthy to be only using certain parts of your brain to memorize and recall information.
Hmm.
It's limiting, and a lot of
Right.
indoctrination happens in schools. Like the victors write the history books, they say. So it's like they're
Right.
not getting the whole picture. So there's better opportunity to learn more of a robust way if you're
Hmm.
learning from home and in your own safe, secure space. It probably would create more confident, secure, healthy children and adults. I would presume for most
Yeah.
cases, some environments, some parents, they just don't want to do it or they can't do it, and that's okay. I'm not trying to judge other parents. It's just like I
Yeah.
like this push. The people who can, they really should. And then there's going to be
Hmm.
result and like there's going to be options for people who are struggling and need help.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and I'm assuming that's what's happening. Like
Hmm.
the education system had to do something
Right. They
fast.
needed a shift. And I think this is going to ultimately benefit the education system. I think a lot of the changes that needed to happen are going to start happening. And I've seen both sides. I've seen parents who are like, oh my God, thank God for the teachers. I can't do their job. I can't even compete with them. And they're kind of like, I can't wait for school to open again because it's so hard on them to homeschool.
Yeah,
And then I've seen the other side too, where some parents are like, oh my goodness, my kid loves this and he doesn't want to go back to school. And I think I'm going to be homeschooling now. So it's kind of a beautiful thing. I think it's really giving, it's like a trial run, right? Like, okay, this is what homeschooling could look like, but it's skewed because they're being given assignments from the schools still.
mm-hmm.
So the workload is still really
Right,
heavy and it's really different than how a lot of homeschoolers I know homeschool, you know. So
right.
it's kind of like this distorted version of homeschooling where it's very rigid and it's like they have calendars, daily schedules that are still very like in 30-minute increments, like do this, then this, then this, then this. And
Yeah.
I actually made a couple videos about homeschooling for my friends because I really wanted to encourage them to um, be really gentle on themselves and give themselves space and time to adjust to the shift, but and
Mm-hmm.
also maybe like consider like 2 hour blocks, like what are you going to do every 2 hours, so that there wasn't this anxiety producing of like next, because that kind of defeats the purpose of homeschooling, which is a more relaxed, go with the flow kind of pace.
And
So
being it like trying to be a teacher, I saw that that was what they expected teachers to be able to do was the expectations of like the scheduling and how you were supposed to cover all these things and
Hmm.
these skills of students, I was shocked at what was being expected of these teachers to create all on their own and in a way, and very vague resources and vague offerings of help. I was shocked at like how confusing it was for me after I had just finished a whole degree, and I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, I don't understand. Like,
Mm.
and so it's also, I think, giving parents a taste of what the teachers are being expected to do. And the more
Yeah,
people who don't like it, the quicker I think that's going to catalyze change. It's just
exactly.
fantastic, taking the
Exactly.
onus off of, because the teachers are oppressed. They've got
Yeah.
their own BS that they're dealing with all the time. And it's just like, I'm glad they're getting a break too. I really, they're
Yeah.
some of them are getting a break. Most of them are like video calling their classes. But again, that gives them a lot more freedom. So I'm sure.
Yeah, well, when I went down the rabbit hole of homeschooling, like, I started learning about core curriculum and why people don't like it. And, because I didn't really understand. But there's a lot of teachers out there who hate core
Oh, yeah.
curriculum, and it's being forced down their throats. It's being forced into all the schools. So they all have to teach it. And they're frustrated.
Yeah, and like people who are drawn to teaching have an intuitive ability to teach for the most part, and their intuition and their abilities are not vibing with what is being
Exactly.
expected of them. And,
Hmm.
you know, other times in history, teachers, they did not have that kind of, that kind of structure that they were expected to work within. They were just teachers that just showed up and they gave what they gave. And
Yeah.
everyone can be a teacher too.
Hmm.
It's kind of giving it more of a common commonplace, I don't know, label that you can be a teacher if you want. You don't need to go to pay a bunch of money and get an education to do it. It's
Yeah.
good. I think it's like breaking down these barriers. Like you were saying, it's very humbling.
And what I've learned too is that kids learn at their own pace. They learn something when
Mm-hmm.
they really want to know it. So, like, if my kid really wants to start his own YouTube channel, which he does,
Nice.
um,
That's fun.
then he's going to have to learn certain skill sets that go with that, you
Yep.
know. So rather than me saying, okay, now you need to learn how to read because this is what you're supposed to learn, this is a poor example, but like you have to know how to read in order to have a YouTube channel. So the desire of wanting a YouTube channel will create that desire to want to learn how to read
Which is a
because
fantastic way to learn things.
yeah, exactly. So like, he's a great speller, great reader. His Achilles heel is math. And
And you
you
don't need
know
that to be a YouTuber. You need it. It's fine. The
right.
numbers on YouTube are all lies anyways, right? So
Well, what I was gonna say is like, my parent coach is like, don't like freak out about the math so much because when he needs the math later on in his educational career, like he can catch up and he can learn it really quickly when he needs it, when he's motivated to learn it, you
yeah,
know?
his brain's still developing.
Exactly. Exactly. But, we've been programmed to have these like markers, by fifth
Yeah.
grade, you've got to know this. By sixth grade, you've got to know that, and it's all designed to hit certain milestones for a reason, so that you can go into that corporate world, that corporate environment, knowing certain skills or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So it really depends on what your kid wants to do. And you have to really treat them as an individual and find those nuggets, those golden gifts that they innately have and want to bring to the world, and like really keeping an eye on that as they develop.
Totally. I think
Yeah.
that's a good guide thing. Like when instead of being like an authoritative figure, you're actually just helping them just do their own life. Like, hey, I have more experience in this, so I'm going to help you do this and
Yeah.
get you where you want to go. Like,
Like,
what kind of content does he want to make?
are you asking?
I'm asking, like, I'm curious. Do you want to tell me? Like,
He wants to make video game video game
yep.
videos. It's like a double entendre.
Mm-hmm.
But like I heard a story of a mom whose kid only wanted to play the piano. She didn't want to do her homeschool in shelter in place. She's like, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to play the piano. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Just let her play the piano,
Yeah.
because maybe
Now's the time.
she's going to be like this incredible, concert pianist or something. Like, don't squash that, that's kind of how I see it.
Piano therapy.
Yeah. So, speaking about the matrix and all these systems, the educational system, and how do you define the false matrix? Like, what do you see?
I think I would define it as things that you need to give your power away to be involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And giving your power away can be very subtle. And I'm learning these subtleties now because I was doing it. I was raised in it. I was thinking that I was trying to do the right thing to just function and try and be in the box that I needed to be to do and live in this society. But I've now learned that there's alternative options, which is great. But like, if you need to be at a job at certain hours or you're fired, those are the sort of things that you're looking at. Those are the things where you're like, well, this is, at some points there's very little flexibility. There's a very rigid structure of what you need to comply with to be considered, um, I guess, to be considered a part of that particular system. So we have to pay our
Or
taxes.
valuable, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
we've got to pay taxes. We've got to pay car insurance. We've got to pay for water. We've got to pay for power. We've got to pay for heat in our homes. We've got to pay for the property we're on. We got to pay to be in this school, and we got to pay to wear clothes. So we got to pay to eat food. And like, everything has become more of a money transaction instead of like you taking care of any of these aspects on your own. And that's when I feel like you've kind of given your sovereignty away to a system.
Mm-hmm.
And in a perfect world, there's definitely a way to make a system that benefits us and that there's a more healthy exchange of energy between these things. Like, we will need energy in our homes. How that's going to be, what technology really we could be using, could be no cost to anybody. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that's an option. And same with all the other things I mentioned. And I feel like there's so many so many structures and bills and expectations and time limits, and when you're putting limits of time and so on, those are all like major indicators that that's more of a an all what's the word, artificial
Mm-hmm.
uh matrix, something that is unnatural, unorganic, because it almost pains you to continue doing it. It's like you have to fight yourself to continue trying to stay in that lane, and that constant fight is what breeds intense behaviors that are for coping mechanisms emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And we begin to poison ourselves, and we begin to disassociate from ourselves and feel like we don't know what we really want with our lives. And we don't have any creative passion because we're so tired. We've given all of our time away to something to make money, to pay the bills, to be in the home, just to live. And I'm thinking it's so great to watch that getting a huge pause and a break for a lot of people. And now they're giving people their money back and saying it's from the government, but it's not their money. It's the people's money. It's what's been there. And it's just nice. People are kind of getting their sovereignty back and making their own choices with what they engage with in their everyday life. And uh, it's been hard. It's been hard to. It was hard for me to do it, and I had a lot of guilt. Guilt was a big one. Like, your guilt.
What was hard for you to do?
It was. I felt guilty that I wasn't able to do everything according to the book all the time, and we had to cut corners, and I was falling farther and farther away from my like comfort zone of being in the matrix and doing the right thing of what an adult does with their time and their energy and their money. And I was watching it all kind of fall away, and it was very hard for me to watch it and I was anxious, and I was guilty that I wasn't able to perform, and I wasn't able to be a good citizen. And it was like all of these programs and stuff that from like, your parents' stress and your grandparents' stress and all of this stuff was
Right.
just starting to surface. And um, it was a lot. And so I feel like I can feel for people who are going through it right now, because it was so emotionally intense, and I didn't even understand it. It was just like generational guilt about not being good enough to like be a citizen in society, and it was just so intense. um
Wow.
yeah, it was. I don't know why I cried so much. I was angry, I felt helpless, and but I still had everything I needed. I didn't know how I was going to get my next meal sometimes, but it always ended up happening. And then the miracles started to show, and it started to flow in time. Like you didn't know what time it was in the day because you didn't have a schedule. And then every time you only ever look at a clock, it's 11:11 or whatever. It's a number that's like, well, not really. It's a time, but
It's a
really it's more
sign.
of a message.
Yeah.
Like, good job, you saw the digital device with numbers on it. Here's 333, and continue on with your flow, whatever you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just falling away from these structures that I had, this lattice that I had like wrapped myself around. It was like the lattice just poofed and was gone. And I was like, a coiled up mess, and I needed to sort myself out.
Wow, that's huge. That's a huge like shift that you went through, and it sounds like you were holding a lot of energy from your ancestral lineage, and
Totally.
you healed it, and you were able to clear it and just, you know, help them evolve.
That's what they say. I mean, I
Yeah,
watched
because
it. I
they're
watched it work.
still, your DNA is still connected to their DNA, even the ones who've transitioned over. So you're healing your whole ancestral lineage.
It felt like that.
Yeah.
And then they're calling me like, I feel amazing today. I'm so inspired. I'm like, oh, I'm glad, because I just had a mental breakdown, and now I'm
You're
now
welcome.
enlightened to the fact that I'm not gonna die because I didn't pay a bill or something. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it was so funny, and all of these intense emotions. And
Yeah.
being such an intuitive, empathic child, like I would feel what people were about to say or what they wanted to say and how they were feeling in their bodies and reacting to things all the time. And I was recording all of that in my body. And now it's like when that thing happens and I don't have somebody to reflect that, it was like that thing came out of me. And it was like someone else's reaction was occurring to the stimulus. And I was
Wow.
blown away to see how I was being totally restructured. And it was really, really nice
Did
because
this happen after the van life or
it
before or
it was
during?
like that van was like I was being incubated in this intensity of transition. And I mean, I'm sure other people are going through that type of intense isolation and shifting and so on. And
Mhm.
all of their plans and everything that they were thinking they were going to do with their life just crumbled, especially for the last next couple months. And like I know the feeling. I know what it feels like to be helpless in that way.
Mhm.
Feel helpless at least. And then eventually you grow and you change and you adjust and you become more courageous and you have more faith and you see the universe talking to you more because you're not busy thinking about what you should be doing. You're just reacting to what's going on in your life more. It's more of a present moment thing. It's
Mhm.
it was really good. And that was more, yeah, that was all in the van. Like I was in a timeless present moment, emotional explosion and restructuring.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was just, and then it was beautiful, and it's such a beautiful experience too. And it was such a liberating feeling. And it was just so funny how emotional I was. I had never even known I could be that emotional and that
Oh,
angry
wow.
and that hateful, or that like the things that came out of my mouth. Like I was shocked. I was shocked many times, and I'm crying and I'm talking to Jason. I'm like, I never would say this to you. Like, what is wrong with me? And I was beside myself
Oh
sometimes.
my
It was
goodness.
so bad, but I guess it needed to happen fast and rapid, and I hopefully helped my family, and I think I did. And
It
now
was like a
we're
year,
trucking.
right? It was a
It was a
year?
year and it
Yeah.
didn't end. Like it was just like, it
So
was
was
so,
it 2019? Was
yeah,
all of 2019? Okay, so then because I had you on the show when you were
I was in
living
there.
in the van and
Mhm.
somehow we had internet connection.
I know. That was another fun one. And
Yeah.
my only lifeline was my bit, like my blog and my phone and the internet. And that was also very spotty and not sure. And it was just like, it was really detoxifying, I guess is the best way to say it. I was very detoxified in that time. And I'm so grateful. I'm hopefully that's not going to happen to that level again. I don't want to invite that because I'm like, I did the work. I did it. I don't need to do that again, right? It still surfaces and once in a while, but it's way less. I'm like, oh, I know what this is. I got some tools for this now, but I didn't have them before. I
Yeah.
had no idea what to expect. I was not prepared.
Wow, what a blessing and what a gift that you guys received
It
because
was
I mean, not everyone gets to experience that. Although now shelter in place is a little bit like that, but not as
not
extreme.
as extreme.
Yeah.
Like people
Yeah.
still have plumbing.
Right. Toilets, no.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah. Heat showers.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just different. We're like kind of in a bubble, but it's just like a totally different,
And I'm glad. I'm like,
bubble.
don't want it to be that intense for people. I wouldn't want that for most people I care about. Like
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to handle.
But it's funny because like I was so envious of you guys going on your van life because that's something I want to do. But I don't know if I could do it with four people in a van size thing. Like that would be super intense. I think I would need like a big old RV or a school bus or something.
Yeah, the space definitely helps because
Yeah.
it's even when someone's in your aura even all day, like it's an interesting experience. It reminded me almost like I know this is terrible, but it almost reminded me of like this uh jail cell sometimes. It was
Oh,
just like
wow.
what it would feel like. And I thought about people who are incarcerated, and I do a lot. And I really feel like that's a huge part of honestly what a lot of people are missing. It's like a
Mhm.
population that's totally forgotten. And
Yeah.
they deserve a lot of attention and a lot of justice, and they are being treated totally inhumanely. And I
Yeah.
got to really, I mean, way better conditions than what those people are going through. I'm not trying to compare myself one on one for that, but like I got a good, better glance at what it was like. And I was just like, holy crap. Like I think about the incarcerated population a lot and I feel for them. And now a lot more people are kind of feeling what house arrest is like
Yeah.
or what it's like to not be able to actually leave your home or leave a certain location for a certain amount of time. It does things to you.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's so weird. Like we were driving around last night. We went to pick up food and all the stores were closed. It was just so weird. We were in a different town, like two towns over that so I hadn't driven that far since shelter in place and
Right.
which is not that far, it's like 10 minutes, but still it was like shocking to see
It is very
just
weird.
a city that's always hustling, bustling, being just completely dormant and shut down. Like, and the restaurants, God help them. I hope they survive. Hey, Gandalf, UFO
Oh, it's one of
Gandalf
my
is in the
favorite
house.
things is eating out. Oh, excellent.
Dexter, all the way from Australia.
What up?
What
Uh,
up? Are you guys? I want to ask Dexter actually, now that I have you in the chat room, are you guys in a complete lockdown situation? Are you able to go outside? Can you drive around? Because
we want to know.
we want to know. A dear friend of mine who lives there, well, she's not a dear friend, she's like more like an acquaintance, but she lives there and she said she couldn't even go outside and put her feet on the ground. So I want to hear from you, Dex, and hear what it's like for you in your neck of the woods. And
Uh,
remind us which state you live in too, if you don't mind.
my
Um,
sister's in Australia right now. Funny
oh,
story.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Visiting or does she
She's
live
got
there?
a visa. She went out there to like work and enjoy her life, be
Mm-hmm.
and so she's chosen to stay during the stay in place out there because she had a good setup going and
How's she doing now?
I think she's doing great. Like her and I and my family, I guess we're pretty resilient, pretty mature people. So thankfully, we've had each other's back through this. I'm like, there's a greater purpose to this. I know we aren't supposed to be afraid, and as long as you're in a good place and sheltered, and you got food and you got things going on,
Yeah.
I mean, don't worry about it. It's gonna pass. And keeping
Is she in Sydney, like in the city?
no, she's in I think she's over by Melbourne.
Oh, okay. But
And
is she okay? Like, is she able to go outside or and stuff
I
like that?
haven't asked. She hasn't told me that she's been having any type of issue really. Like she even had her job for longer than the people she was living with who had much more corporate jobs. Like she's doing waitressing because she's just, that's what people do when you do these kinds of visas. You just go work at a restaurant or a cafe and enjoy yourself for a year in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I think she's just the restaurant she was working for is probably not open anymore. So she's just hanging out
Yeah.
and she has a whole pile of savings. She was much more responsible with her money. And so she's doing fine.
Oh, that's
And
good.
it's good. But yeah, and for living in the van and so on, people were really envious and excited for us. And I did not take it for advantage either. It was just like a huge blessing. Tried to
Mm-hmm.
share as much of the light of the experience as possible and have a great time and enjoy the crap out of it as well. Like it wasn't just all me freaking out and having all this weird processing I was doing. It was a beautiful thing. And we got our puppy and raised a puppy in the van, and
I
it
know
was
that was
super
awesome.
fun. And like
It's so
how
cute.
can you resist that? It was just like the most like fairy tale thing that happened. Like find a box of puppies, take it with you on your van trip for a year. Like it's a
Yeah,
beautiful thing.
it was so cute seeing those pictures.
Yeah.
Um, so we have about 20 minutes left, and I wanted to ask you, like, so I know you do tarot readings,
Hmm.
and I was wondering, like, can you do a reading for Gaia for the
Hmm.
Earth using the Lightworker deck? I mean, you can use whichever deck, but I love that Lightworker deck that you showed yesterday.
Oh, the big one. I have it, but I would have to pop out and grab it. If you want, I
Okay,
can go do that right now. I'll
sure.
go grab it. I'll go grab it
Yeah,
because it is a fun one.
yeah,
Jace
it's
bought it for me for
beautiful.
my birthday, and I cry almost every time I ever use it because it's like
Aw.
I'm always like the most stressed when I'm doing this reading. I'm like, what's going on? And then it's just like you're beautiful and everything's amazing, and I'm like crying, like I know.
That's perfect. Let's use that deck.
Let's go use that. It's good.
Okay.
It's a good time. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Hey guys, Dex, are you still there? I would love to hear how you guys are doing in Australia. Um, and we're gonna get a tarot reading from Alexis. So if you guys want a tarot reading, put your name in the chat room, like in all caps, or just say I want a tarot reading, please, or something like that. And we can do that. It shouldn't take very long.
Oh, I also realize I've been talking a lot about being emotional the last hour, but I think that's also a good part of the strong divine feminine thing is to experience these emotions and really sit with them and
Hmm.
um, analyze them and feel them and
Yeah, it's coming up for everyone right now. Like
totally.
everyone's being faced with their emotions right now. So I think it's great to talk about it and process them with each other and, let people know that they're not alone. Like we're all going through a huge shift. So be
Yeah.
kind to yourselves, be gentle to yourselves. It's really important right now.
And yeah, don't shy away from your emotions because the quicker you can like really dig into them and enjoy them for their release, the feeling of release, it's a euphoric thing a lot of the time. And
Yeah.
you won't ever feel something that deeply again about that thing probably. Like it's you're moving forward, it's an evolution. So it's a very like concrete evidence that you're growing and
Hmm.
changing and
Yeah.
releasing programming and stuff. And it's fascinating. Although I don't like it sometimes.
Right.
It's okay.
Well, release and receive, right? So
Exactly.
in the work that I do, the healing work, We release the negative emotions and then we receive in the good programming, the positive emotions. And so we can do that with words, with I am statements, with affirmations. I use essential oils. Like I created these blends. This one's called
Yes.
I am joyful,
Mm.
and it's got soda light and it's got a bunch of different oils in it. And
Those are beautiful.
I'll send you one. It
I
has
would love that.
the same crystal in the roller ball.
I was gonna say, is that that's
So
awesome.
yeah, so you put it on and you breathe it in and you exhale and say, I am joyful. And you do that 3 times.
Yes.
I am joyful. And then you could put it on your heart chakra because that's like a happy place, your emotional state for joy. And then
I'm
you
glad you picked joy.
smell it again. And exhale, I am joyful. So I'll send you one of these because they're just
That's so
so
nice.
awesome. So when you're going through those emotions, like you're releasing, right? You want to receive, take a bath, like you said, in Epsom salts, or use essential oils, or work with a crystal, or,
Lay on the grass.
lay on the ground. Yeah, go on a walk, whatever works for you.
Take a nap.
So, sometimes that's it.
Sometimes it happens,
Yeah.
All right.
So
So
awesome.
let's do a reading for our lovely
Gaia.
planetary consciousness.
Yes.
I'm happy
And
to.
I guess the question that I have is like, um it's kind of about time, like how much longer do we need to go through this shift, like through this state that we're in right now in terms of shelter in place?
Mm-hmm.
Like when will things be back to normal in quotes?
Right.
um and like I'm not worried about her. Like I feel like she's gonna be fine. Like the planet's gonna be fine.
She's thriving.
Yeah, she's like doing better than ever because we're all like not polluting, but as much.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, do you understand kind of like what I'm
I
going for?
do.
Yeah,
And I would we can see with this particular deck, but I know this deck isn't as much of a time centric thing, but I
yeah,
could work more with time with the other deck that I have, which is the more of the traditional. So we could maybe just pull a card from both and see what the
okay,
message is, and then we'll get our response.
yeah. Maybe it's a message from Gaia. I don't know.
Yes. So I
Yeah.
think I will directly say, like, address her, our planet. Okay. Dear Source, may I please do a reading for the mind body spirit complex of planet Earth, of Gaia? What is it that we need to know about the time span of this shift that's going on planetarily? Is there anything that you can indicate to us about this shift and what's going on, and perhaps how it's going to shift and what it's going to look like when it's done, or when we know there's a transition? All right, when we know there's a transition. Okay, so okay, this is a great or answer to someone wanting time answers.
Wow.
And the answer is the eternal now.
Oh, of course.
Which I love. This is why I love doing tarot, because every time you're like, there you go. That's some supreme truth right there. So let me see what it says. It says, within you is great strength and courage. However, just because you can manage to keep going when you are drained or stressed, it doesn't mean you have to do so. You are encouraged by your higher guidance to request
Mhm.
assistance in letting go of tension within your mind and body. You will gain energy through this release and perhaps even see things in a new and more optimistic light. Shifting into a more present, relaxed, and enjoyable state of being will help you overcome the past and successfully create your future.
Mm, nice.
Yeah, it says, Dear one, have your thoughts become trapped in the pain of the past? Have they been drifting towards possible futures? If too much of your energy is pulled away from the present, you diminish the power you have to create what your heart desires.
That's such a good message, such a good lesson, right? That's what we're all in right now. Like, when's it going to end? When's going to happen? Da, da, da. So we're leaving the present and then we move into anxiety. So it's such a great message to just stay in the present, stay in the eternal now.
Yes. It's I mean, this book, it'll give me a 2-pager for every card. So I like
Yeah.
scan through. Like the first thing I read was the summary, but I'm seeing now, I love to see all the other little things that are sprinkled in here, and it's very
Hmm.
much focusing on when and ifs, and as you relax in this moment, the past is over and the future shall be truly wonderful. You can more easily energize your dreams, visions, and your heart desires. So that's good. This is very beautiful. Okay.
That's
I'm
awesome.
curious to see what else we're going to get. So if I may, Gaia, I would love to receive some more clarity about what we should be focusing on right now. How can we better connect with you? What is it that you're working on right now? What is it that you want the earthly population to know? There we go.
I love when they jump out.
Okay. So this is a really good one. The Eight of Wands is the card that we got. And the Eight of Wands is one of the more simple cards, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Simple message. And it just says, energy is moving really fast and change is happening
Okay.
really rapidly.
Yes.
So just fly with it. Just, stay in the eternal now and watch everything happening before you so quickly. And energies and shifts are happening real quick. And I've been getting this card a lot. Like, it's happening.
Awesome.
Things are
It's
happening
happening.
fast. It's
Yeah.
happening now. And I'm like, yep.
You can say
I
that
would
again.
agree. I've been
Awesome.
waiting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So those are perfect. So it's like saying like stay in the present, stay in the
Yep.
now and listen to your heart, go within, but
Mm,
also trust that things are moving quickly. You know.
yes.
That's an awesome
And
reading.
thank you. Thank you, Gaia. Thank you, Source.
Yes, thank you. Awesome. Okay, anyone else in the chat room want a reading? We can do one reading.
Who's it gonna be?
Yesterday my chats weren't going through, so just want to make sure they're going through. It looks like they are today.
I'm seeing them
Okay.
too on my
Yeah.
end.
Okay, good. Awesome, awesome.
What a great answer. I was like, I don't know if any of these cards have any words that relate to time, but the one we got definitely did.
Yes, that
That
was
was
beautiful. That was
It is so
amazing.
tricky to work with time.
I
Usually you get
know.
the same answer. It's like, just stay in the present because that's all that exists.
That's
You're
all
like,
there is.
oh, okay.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's next for you? What are you working on next week, next month? Speaking of
What's
time.
next?
Yeah, what was all the creative inspiration you mentioned receiving?
Oh, it's very much like crafting because we took over this apartment, this little home from an acquaintance of ours, and she
Mhm.
had to move really fast. And she was feeling the intensity, like she's got to move now. And we kind of took over her lease, and she left a lot of furniture here and things. And I've been I reused and moved it around and redecorated the place with it. But just the other day, I like tore everything off the wall that was what she had left behind, and I kind of put it all in one place because I really wanted to like re-establish the energy of the home. And I'm so
Mhm.
grateful for all the things that she left behind to give us and decor and so on. But
Yeah.
I'm repainting some things and I'm switching up the energies of it because I've become more sensitive in their fabrics, especially like a lot of tapestries and so on that she left behind. And they were beautiful and so nice to have all the color. But then I was starting to feel like fabrics carry a lot of memory and a lot of
Wow.
stagnant energy. And I
Yeah.
was starting to really notice. And I was like, okay. And unfortunately, we had kind of a falling out with this person as well. So
Oh, wow.
it was like a unique situation. I have no hard feelings or anything. It was unfortunate. I wish it never happened. And so
Mhm.
I'm like still trying to give love and send it back through these things that she left behind, but also repurpose them and move the things out of here that may have had any weird feelings to them, and make it feel more like our home now, because it is right now. And
Yeah,
it's I think it's really healthy to keep your environment and your temple, as a reflection of yourself. And
absolutely.
it wasn't exactly a reflection of us, it was also a reflection of this person. And we just thought it was time that we were going to make it more of our own place.
Hmm.
It was just that time. So I have a lot of creative ideas on what I'm trying to do and repurpose these things, and maybe donating some things or whatever. And that was been
Yeah.
fun. And then videos and podcasts. And Jason and I have been doing a podcast together. We have a new episode going up today that we filmed last night. It was really
What's the
long, but it
top?
was fun.
What kind of topics do you cover on your podcast?
Well, we'd like to surprise each other with links and so on. That's the thing that we like to do. But lately, the intensity of what's been going on, we've been kind of more directing our attention to some of the big in your face news things that have come up, like Joe Biden and Lady Gaga. We put that in there,
Hmm.
and Maria Abramovich, the performance artist who has
Hmm.
historically been quite a character for the evil occult people. So it's like,
Yeah.
why are these people coming up, and her connected to Bill Gates, and then the Bill Gates stuff, and
Oh, I
like all
haven't
these
seen
weird characters. Yeah,
seen her
there was a
connection to Bill Gates, but it wouldn't surprise me
on
at
the
all.
Microsoft YouTube channel, they put up a piece about her performance art exhibit at a museum where it was virtual reality. So you would put the goggles on, and then she would appear before you on a black circle in the middle of the room in her red dress with her long black hair. And I was like, what is this? And it really honestly made me think about how, like, these
That's
rituals and
crazy.
that she was performing um, could also be put in the digital realm and accessed from anywhere.
Yeah.
And with this technology, which was this almost like this backdoor way to show you what um, could have been going on with
Wow.
some of these weird rituals. Like, we do mass meditation rituals on YouTube, but what are they doing as a way to connect while they're all in their bunkers or weird underground homes or on off planet? I don't know. Like, what are they doing to participate in their rituals and so on? And that was a
Yeah.
very weird look into what, and she even said being immortalized in the AI, basically, which is a big a big no for us
Yeah.
at this house. We're just like, this is kind of creepy. And so we talked about those things. We talk about things that are actually pretty uncomfortable, and we like to
Hmm.
talk about them and then make jokes and like bring light, and also challenge some of the narratives. Like, I love to challenge even him, and we argue on the show, and he's like, well, this and this and this, because he's a great recall about what he's heard. And I'm like, well, what source is that? Like, where did that come from? Maybe it's not true. Maybe it's this. And he's always just like, well, you're probably right. And maybe. And it really kind of like, it's us trying to almost break down the intensity of these narratives and these storylines. I find it's like we're grooming through them together, like masculine, feminine, feeling it out more intuitively, these stories and what's going on. And
Oh, there you
analyzing
are.
it from our perspective. And it's been fun. And then I throw in random funny things, like how I saw an article that farts are transmitting coronavirus, and I
Oh,
laughed for
yeah, I
like a
saw
good
that.
10 minutes when I saw that.
I
And I
saw
was just
that
like,
too.
why are everybody like, why farts are becoming this scary thing? And it was so funny. And
Oh
we
my
talked about
goodness.
that, and we talk about our crystal hunting we did the other day. Like, we go on adventures still in the van, just not as far, and go collect crystals, and shared about that. And
Oh, that's
oh,
cool. Where do
it
you
was
find
really
them?
well. Usually we hang out in Sedona, and we would been finding I don't have one. They're literally all over our house, because we somehow came across a whole bunch. But these little fulgurite, it's called, because it's lightning struck red sand. So they form these little tubes that are like glassy sounding.
Oh, I
They
saw
were
those on your website.
they're really cool, and
Hmm.
we just kept. I don't know. It's like we were guided to where they were. We were told they were extremely rare. We looked them up online. The price point is ridiculous. How some people were selling them. Like the one
Really?
website we found, like crazy. And then we went to the gem show and we showed them to people and we were like, this is the price point that we found online. And they're like, whoa. And we've got people traded us some very expensive things for a piece. We were naive. We were like, we don't really know how this works. We're just kind of, we're enjoying the investigation. But the pricing and everything of crystals, it makes me feel gross. And so it's like
Mm-hmm.
this weird process, like we're trying to adopt them out instead of making it more of like a selling thing. And we intuitively choose, like you pick the size and then we pick out the piece. And then I write a note and I send intention and I mail it around the world. And these little divine sovereign beings get to go heal, do crystal healings and work with people. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what feels right to me. But we went and found some copper, oxidized copper pieces, which is like a bluish green color, like malachite or chrysocolla.
Yeah. Yeah.
We found a place that was over by a copper mine that's nearby because Sedona, or I live in Sedona, but Arizona in general has a lot of copper mines. Actually, they
Okay.
have a lot of different crystal mines we've been learning, and you can just kind of go to old sites and see some. And other crystal hunters will be like, well, this is a poor grade of whatever. And we were like, wow, it's blue. Like, we didn't care. We were so excited. And we did a video about it and talked about it. And um, they're, they're these beautiful blue crust over top of these stones. And it doesn't match the landscape at all, but somehow they sprinkle in there. And it was so much fun. We did it on Easter Sunday and it was like an Easter egg hunt. And it
Oh,
was
that's so fun.
really healthy for the inner child. And
Yeah.
we're going to be giving some pieces to our friends again and we'll put them up on the website. We didn't find nearly as many as we have of the other stuff, but I don't know. The crystals keep coming to us and we're trying to figure out how to like continue distributing them because in
Mm-hmm.
the moment we want, like, we'll make altars and give crystals back, but then we come home and we're like, oh my god, we have so many, like we didn't even realize. And it's like, well, what do we do with them? And it's just like, you got to give them out, they got to go places. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And it's
That's
a
awesome.
good
I'm gonna have to
trading thing.
I'm gonna have to look at your website again
Sure,
and
yeah,
look at
I've
the
been working
pictures
on it.
more closely. I just saw it like in your video from yesterday. So that's cool. That's
Yeah,
fun. Yeah, I agree with you about the crystals. The crystal business, like how they're just being taken out of the land. Like it's too
yeah,
much. Yeah.
it was a lot to go to the Tucson Gem Show. It was almost like it almost felt like there was bodies like piled. It was
Right.
very gross feeling.
Yeah.
At some, not all of the people were like that, but some of them you're like, ew, like why the excess so much? And how did they even get it here? They're shipping it from Argentina. Like how much would that cost? And now they're
I
trying to sell it
know.
to you for this like price and you're like,
I
what is
know.
going on?
It's
Um,
crazy.
it was very unexpected. So but yeah,
Wow.
and then we have a few events later this year. We're physically helping host events, and one of them is going to be called Camp Disclosure, and it's in North Carolina. They're going to be releasing that information, I'm sure, in the next like week, and the website's going to be up and it's almost ready. And then
In
there's another
Asheville?
retreat.
Is it
It's
in
in
Asheville?
Asheville.
Oh, cool. I've been there. It's a cool town.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
over by there, anyways, close
Uh-huh.
by. And then there's another one called Earth Star healing conference or something like that. I think the name, my good friend, she's putting it on. But on both of the events, Jace is going to be hosting the stage, I think, on both events. And then I'm coordinating the first ever children's workshops, which is super interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
So the education and children thing is coming back around, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be working one on one with all of these awakened children in a way because they've grown up in households that are, people who will be going to disclosure conferences usually are having a different effect on their children. So I'm going to
Yeah.
be getting to see what they think about stuff, and I'm really looking forward to all the conversations and investigations we're going to do together.
Speaking of that, my kids were watching Scooby Doo, like the newest Scooby Doo, the other day, and they were
Okay.
like, Mom, come here, you've got to see this. And I kid you not, it was like full on disclosure. The title of the episode was Aliens Among Us. And they talk about the Greys, the Reptoids, the Anunnaki.
Wow.
They talk about the Hollow Earth. they talk about they show the sheriff being abducted and how he's like horizontal floating through the space, through the sky or whatever. I mean,
Wow.
it's crazy. You've got to watch it. You can't believe that this is in children's programming. Like they're programming them so young. And there's like a gray in the episode. Like it's just crazy. And there's another one called like Ghosts or something Goblin. That one also has disclosure in it. But when you said
Yes.
like you wanted to work with the children earlier, I was thinking like this is such a great time. Like you could do YouTube videos for kids where you're teaching them how to paint or doing music or anything, like,
Yes.
because there's so many parents out there right now seeking really good conscious content, and there
I've been
aren't.
wondering about that and like what I
Yeah.
could do that would be it hasn't hit me yet is
you
what I'm
should you
thinking.
should do some research on YouTube for kids learning. Just type in kids learning, and like there's a ton of content. And some people like check out Cosmic Yoga. Cosmic Yoga is really cool. It's yoga for kids, but it's total green screen, and each episode is a different theme. So one could be like Star Wars or Frozen or Minecraft or whatever. And so it's a way to like hook into the
Huh.
kids who are attracted to that topic.
Very
It's
nice.
pretty brilliant. But yeah, check it out. There's a ton of kids content, and I could totally see you working with kids. Like I feel like you have the perfect energy for
I've
that.
had a lot of parents, like people who have kids like yourself, who are like, my kid loves you. And I'm like, you're letting them watch my videos and they're like, well, yeah, like whatever. I don't do anything that's not kid friendly, but it's not
Yeah,
exactly the most kid,
topic.
interesting content. I'm talking
Right.
about data and then I'm doing a tarot reading or whatever. I
Right.
know attention spans aren't that big. So, and they loved the
No.
blue hair I had at one point, and I get a lot of requests like, they still love you and they love your blue hair. And I've met a few of these people's children, and they like still remember me and talk about me, and I'm
Aw,
so flattered. Like
that's
it's
so
such an
sweet.
incredible experience. Like your
Yeah.
kid, I met them one time, and I remember them for sure, but they're still talking about me. That's astonishing to me, and I'm like,
Aw.
okay, what does this mean? What am I being told right now? Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm trying to understand the message. And so now out of the blue, I'm heading to and like back to back children's programs. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to get some serious one-on-one research with these
Yeah.
beings and what I can do to be of service to them too. And um,
Definitely teach meditation.
meditation, yeah,
Definitely, yeah. Throw in a
at the
meditation
event.
program. Yes.
Totally
Yes.
agree. We're going to be
Yeah.
meditating. We're going to be dancing. We're going to be journaling. We're going to be talking about dreams. We're going to be doing foraging and doing more land back and forth and the animals. And it's going to be so much fun. I'm really
Oh, that's
excited.
awesome. That's awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah. So if you want to go to that and bring your kid, there's only at both events. Just keep following me on my Ascension Diaries Facebook
Okay.
page
Yeah.
or my Instagram
Where's this
probably.
where's the star one? The star seed. What's
Oh,
it
that one's
called?
going to be it's Earth Star
Earth
Healing.
star.
I'm pretty sure, which is technically the chakra that's below you. And
Right.
it's really important to, reconnect to the actual one that's grounded beneath the surface of the earth.
Right.
And so that one's going to be in New Mexico it's going to be like an hour uh, southwest of Albuquerque.
Oh, okay.
And
That's
she
on
did a
our
retreat.
that's on our list of places to go check out this year.
Yes. And this
So
one's
that
going
could
to
be cool.
have a bigger capacity and it's going to be more outdoors. And I think she just got basically a divine grant of an investment to be able to build some stuff on this land that she has. My friend Z, who's doing this, she has an incredible story. Like she's gained land basically through knowing that she's an alien contact and she's had this land waiting for her through a past life experience and now she's doing events on it and now investors are coming in to like help her build stuff and
Wow,
it's
that's
been
great.
fun being her friend and supporting her and working with her on this project because I'm like, yeah, this feels right. This feels the star seed mission for sure. Like land on earth, make a place, bring people to the place. help them out.
That's awesome. Well,
Very
yeah,
common theme.
I'll keep following you and seeing like what's, new in the development of it and see if
Of
we can make it
course.
out
And we'd
there. That
love
would
to
be
have
fun.
you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to meet you in person finally.
Oh
That would be
yeah. I
awesome.
feel like we've already known each other many
I
times.
know.
And
I
so I'm
know.
happy. It'll be fun. And yeah,
Yes.
you bring the kids and they can be my greatest critics and it's
Oh,
going to be
Ruby would love you. She'd be just like, she wouldn't leave your side. I'm sure.
I'm flattered. That's very
Oh,
sweet of you to say.
thank you. Yeah, she's fun. She's a lot of fun. Okay, well, awesome. Thank you so much for all of your time and your wisdom and sharing all of so much of yourself and your personal stories and the reading. It was all beautiful. It was all fantastic.
I
And thanks.
usually get to get more technical when I talk and I do shows and like what is the Schumann resonance and what is it doing to us, and I liked this was a nice different pace, and I appreciate you holding space for me to talk about myself too. That was really appreciated.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it was like I felt like it was very organic the way it unfolded. We got some good scientific questions in the beginning, and then it felt very authentic and organic. And that's important. I think people need to see our true essence, if you will, come through.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. So awesome. So yeah, thank you so much. Where can people find you and find more of your work? I know you're on most of the social media platforms.
Yes, I would recommend, since we're on YouTube right now, pop over to my YouTube channel, Ascension Diaries, and
Mhm.
subscribe there. And I do space weather updates and I do tarot readings on there. And also our podcast goes up on there. So and also random videos and vlogs and stuff. Like all of my videos, I love creating videos. So they're all going up on there. And
Mhm.
then the rest of my content, because it just pours out of me. I feel very lucky to be a very creative person. And it's all on Instagram as well and Facebook. They cross post to each other. It makes it easy. So I
Mhm.
do everything on Instagram and then it shoots it all over to Facebook, which is cool. And that's also Ascension Diaries both times. So it's a
Mhm.
big community now. It's a lot of really cool people. There's also a Facebook group as well if you want to meet more people who are into this stuff. That's a possibility. I'm just trying to create communities and connect and bring everything together and make it all kumbaya again, and that's my goal. So I have a weird niche like and interest, and I, it's a good time. It's
Yeah,
relevant, I promise. So
it is. It is. You have a great fan base, and your fans love you, and the work you're doing is really important. So thank you for sharing your gifts in this world, especially right now as we go through this ascension. It's so important.
well, I'm glad to be of any service to anybody. It's honestly I'm very grateful to be able to be relevant in anyone's life for any positive reason. It's very nice. So I love it. I
Awesome.
love it. And I want to keep doing it. It's so great.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for watching and being here with us today. Stay tuned for Friday's show, which is coming up in 2 days at 7 o'clock, right here on the same YouTube channel. We're going to have Vivienne Chevet, who is an Arcturian hybrid and a healer. And she's going to be bringing in messages from the Arcturian collective and about the current state of our world and how we can get through this shift together in the most positive way. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe and like it and share it with your friends. And check us out on Twitter at Ascension Sesh and Facebook as well. Thank you so much. Bye. Have a great night, everyone.